Hello, entrepreneurs, artists, and creators. This is Dave with Founder Sensei. Okay, this is the first lesson of resilient psychology. So I want to share with you a notion. This is something that I discovered much later in life than perhaps I should have. And the best way for me to explain this notion is just to explain how I discovered it. There's a teacher, a guy by the name of Eckhart Tolle, and he wrote a book called The Power of Now. A friend of mine recommended I read this book, so I did. Downloaded it, and I started it. Now, most of the book, when I read it the first time, I didn't really understand it. But there was one thing that I got from the book. And in the book, this is the very beginning of the book, Tolle tells the story of how he had an emotional breakdown. That when he was in his late 20s, he was in graduate school at Oxford, and he was suffering from terrible, dreadful, as he would describe it, dreadful anxiety. And one night in particular, he was having a really bad feeling of dread. And he said to himself, I can't stand myself anymore. And he paused for a second, and he said, that's a curious statement. Who is the I, and who is the myself? Am I two people? When I say I can't stand myself, who is talking? Is it possible that only one of those people are real? Tolle goes on to explain that this is the opening that was created for him where he started to realize, he started to become aware of, he started to wake up to the fact that he was not his thoughts. And then, of course, he puts it in the book to everyone else. You are not your thoughts. Now, for me, that kind of stopped me in my tracks because I'm an engineer, I'm a scientist, I solve problems, I consider myself a problem solver, and I mostly solve problems using my intellect, my God-given intellect. I use my mind. Well, because I solve so many problems all the time as an entrepreneur, I became completely identified with my thoughts. And so if you think about it, if you can observe your thinking, which everyone can do this, who is the observer? Now, I came to realize that this is a very, very powerful notion, the first notion that I want to introduce to everyone in terms of the resilient psychology module here. And the first thing I want you to realize is that you are not your thoughts. So when your mind is creating thoughts, and it often does this incessantly, where your mind is just thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about the future and thinking about what's going to happen and thinking about making sure that we have everything prepared for the future and worrying, and then thinking about the past and the regrets and the sorrows that come from the past. All of that incessant thinking is being produced by your mind. And it's similar to, I would describe it as like a muscle that's twitching, muscle fiber that's spasming and it's twitching. But when it's on your arm, you don't identify yourself with that. You don't say, I am the muscle. No, you're like, oh, that's just my arm. But in the mind, it's easy, it sucks you in and you become identified with it. And you think those thoughts are you, but they're not you. Who you really are and who I really am is the awareness of the thoughts, the space where those thoughts happen, the conscious awareness, the entity that is watching, that can observe your thoughts and say, wow, why am I thinking that? That's who you really are. And that is separate from your thoughts. Your thoughts are not who you are. You can have thoughts that are crazy. I have crazy thoughts all the time. Why don't I do this crazy thing? It's just a thought. That's not who you are. That little voice in your head is not who you are. That's just a voice in your head. Who you really are is the awareness where those thoughts happen. Think of it as a movie screen, a white movie screen that the images are being projected on. You are not the images. The images are coming from the projector. You are the screen. You are the space where that happens. So that's the only notion I want to share with you in this first module. And I want you to think about it. And I want you to more than think about it. I want you to feel that. I want you to feel that separation between your thoughts and who you really are, the observer of your thoughts. And I want you to bring some awareness to that. And I want you to observe your thoughts from now until the next session.